Hi, everyone. I've had a few people ask questions about this classroom environment project. This project is due at the end of next week, so not until September 1st, but a few people wanted to get started on that, so I thought I would go ahead and give you a quick overview of that assignment for people who want to start. That does not mean you need to start. We will talk about this in class on Tuesday night, but if you would like to, you certainly can go ahead and get started with this project. So I'm clicking on the modules section here. So for this week, this is all that you need to do. Everything for week 1 is what is due by the end of this week. So your only thing you have to do is your classroom community discussion board, and that's due Sunday night. Next week, we're going to start talking more about creating positive learning environments. And so for this module, we will be looking at our own current classroom environments, thinking about the schedule, some of those types of things, and then thinking about how we might want to alter those based on what we've learned from the class materials. So for next week, you will be reviewing an IRIS module because we talked about that in class last week. So for next week, so again, not starting until Monday, you will be reading this article and completing this IRIS module. Another thing that you will have for next week, as always, is your discussion that you'll be completing related to this topic. Again, this is not due until September 1st, so just to be clear on this. Same is true for this classroom environment project. For this assignment, I'm going to click on this. You will be designing your kind of ideal or dream classroom space and schedule. So for every assignment like this that you will have in class, there is a guideline. There are guidelines and a checklist of things for you to follow. And I always include an example as well, just so you have an idea of what it is that you could do. You don't have to follow the example exactly. By all means, I would hope that your example doesn't look exactly like the one provided. But it sometimes is helpful to see what other people have done in the past related to the assignment. So we'll quickly look at the checklist for this assignment. And you'll see that for every assignment like this that you will do, there are directions related to what it is that you're supposed to be doing. So for this, you will be, again, creating or designing your dream classroom in terms of physical space. So your classroom design should include developmentally appropriate elements for the grade or age level that you select. So you can decide if you want to do your classroom environment as a preschool classroom, kindergarten, first, second, whatever grade you want. You can do infant and toddler as well, though it is a little bit more challenging because you're required to have centers and interest areas in your classroom. And most of the time in infant classrooms, that might not be something that would be a part of that classroom environment. So it would probably be easier for you to do a classroom environment or space that is at least at that pre-K level. In your classroom space, you will need to include large group spaces, places where you can have small group activities, as well as individual workspaces. Like I said, you'll also include centers and interest areas, one and the same. And so those are the things. You'll actually be sketching out your classroom design. You can do this by hand. You can do this with computer programs if you want to. It's completely up to you. If you do it by hand and you sketch it out, you would just need to somehow get that scanned or take a picture of it to submit for this assignment. You will also be developing a daily schedule. It can be similar to what you already use for your daily schedule, but you want to make sure that whatever you include in your daily schedule provides time for large group, small group, and individual work times. It also should include time for choices or centers, especially since you're required to have those in your room design. And if you are planning your design in like an elementary school, you would likely have specials like music, art, recess, PE, those types of things. So your classroom schedule should align with your room design. That, like I said, if you have centers and interest areas in your room design, but you don't have any time in your schedule for children to participate in centers, that would be a problem, for example. So as you're completing your assignment, I ask that you complete the self-assessment part over here. So checking off to make sure that you've done everything that you need to do for your room design and for the schedule. The third part of this assignment is to write a rationale for why you designed your classroom space the way that you did, so the way that you designed it, as well as why you designed your schedule the way that you did. You should include direct references to what you learned from this class. So maybe in one of the readings that you had for last week, even about creating classroom community, you read something about having morning meetings or having class meeting times. So you want to make sure that in your classroom design and in your schedule, you have time set aside and space set aside for morning meetings or for class meetings. So you could say in your rationale, I made sure to include space in my classroom design and in my schedule for us to have class meetings because I read in blah, 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 whatever the reading was, about how important it is to have those daily check-ins with students. Or maybe there's something from the IRIS module that you want to reference. I learned in the IRIS module the importance of having a universal design that is good for, especially good for students with disabilities, but also good for all of the students in my classroom, that kind of thing. All right. So that rationale, you can do a one-page rationale that is combined for the room design and the schedule, or you can separate them out, whichever is easiest for you. So that is the assignment. Oops, sorry, I still get confused sometimes about my Canvas and what comes up when I click on things. Like I said, I always provide an example. So this is an example that a student did where they drew out their classroom spaces. I'm not saying these are perfect, so don't look at this and say, oh, this is exactly what I should do. I'm just giving you examples. All right, so this is the student's classroom design, the rationale that they wrote to include with that design. So you can see all of that, and there's some of my feedback. And then this is an example of a daily schedule. I've had a few questions about like, well, do I have to do a full day schedule? What if I want to do half day, pre-K, that kind of thing? You can do full day or half day. Just make sure that it aligns both with your, sorry, I'm scrolling so much, with your classroom design, as well as with the rationale that you write to go along with your schedule. Okay. So that is that assignment. Before you come to class on Tuesday, I would love it if you would take a few minutes to just sketch out your current classroom space. All right. So I'm going to attach this document to the message that I'm sending out to all of you with this overview. And if you could just take, and it does not have to be perfect by any means. This is really for you. We're going to do a couple of little group activities in class next week when we meet in breakout rooms. And it would be nice if you had this classroom sketch done. And if you could quickly go through and complete this checklist. So thinking about your current classroom space. All right. So this one is for your current classroom space. If you are not in a classroom right now, you can use a space that you have been in the past. All right. So a sketch, current classroom space, or a place you've been in the past. and then answering these questions for that space. Okay, we are going to use this for a discussion in class. This is separate from the assignment that you will be doing for the classroom environment project. Hopefully that is clear and clarifies questions. If you are not ready to start on this assignment, you can ignore this for right now, but know that this resource is out there for you when you are ready to start this assignment. And we will talk a lot more about this and go through everything that's expected for this in class on Tuesday. Hope you all are doing well and have a fabulous weekend.